Alright, welcome to
Ta-da!
Zolder. We'll do the track walkthrough, and as usual, we'll go first. We're gonna start with the flying lab from the inside. We could also do the lab from the outside so you could see the line better, and then we'll go corner to corner and give you tips, trick, and gonna give you a braking reference for the car. And just keep in mind, as usual, I'm playing VR. My field of view might be different than view. You might play on the screen, you might use a different camera. So all the braking reference that I will use might change a little bit from car to car and from person to person depending on what you're playing, what setting you're using. So let's start with the flying lab from the inside. Take a look at the steering input. You could take a look at the throttle and brake, but you'll see in the port that sometimes I key a little bit of gas during corner. That's specific to the Porsche, so another car might probably just do a coasting through the corner. But steering input, you try to keep as minimal as possible, so keep an eye on that. And if you, during the when we go corner by corner, if you have a question, don't hesitate. You don't need to wait till the end. Just ask your question as we go. Don't be afraid to ask. Any question is good. So let's start with the lab. And let's do it back to see the line better, and we'll do the outside camera.
The only line I was concerned with was the 27 that showed up. Holy shit! That's fucking quick.
Yeah.
Did you see the time? Did it show it up?
Yeah, I was
Yeah, it
watching on
showed
the
up,
race
yeah.
logic on the dash.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, it shows there.
You
when
crossed
finish
it like
the lap.
127
Point.
something.
It's,
It popped
20,
up as a 127.7, I think.
27.2.
Wow.
Holy crap.
And those laps are done on the hot lap mode on the game. So 21 degrees. Yeah, the mic's grip, all that. So keep
Yeah.
in mind that usually with the last two rays that we got, it was like 30 something degree. It will be slower than that. Those times will be like probably really hard to get with those temperature. So let's try from the outside so you could have a better view from the line.
This is the part that's going to be the most important for you guys, is to understand where to put the car on the track for all the corners.
So we'll go back and then we'll go corner to corner. And keep in mind that the Porsche is really strong here. That's you're probably not gonna get those time like Ferrari, McLaren because the car that cannot cut the chicane as much are penalized a lot here because if you don't cut it, you don't jump it, you're gonna lose a bunch of time, and that's just the way it is for this track. So let's start back. We'll go for turn one. I'm not gonna try to pronounce any of those corner name. I'll go by the number. They're way too hard to pronounce. So first corner, my braking reference is when I am from the inside. Will be when I get underneath the banner where you have the state of art racing. That will be my braking point. So if we go a little bit slower, see right when I'm starting to not seeing it. See, I'm gonna start to brake right when I don't see it in the Porsche, but that should be one of your reference point. Some people like to use you have those GT banner. You could use those. You have those two that are close, but you need there's a bunch all from the straight, so just be careful on light.
Remember, guys, anything that he considers a reference point is just that. It's to help you understand where you are on track. If you look to your left, Landry, show him where the 100-meter board is compared to where you're at. It's actually behind you on the left side there.
Where?
Right there on the left, above the track on the left side, straight ahead. Move in some. Right there. That's the 100-meter board right there.
I don't even see it.
Well, there should be some on the left-hand side.
I don't see it.
I don't think for two.
Oh, it's right there.
It's right there.
Oh, I see.
I was gonna say it should be at the end.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's the 100-meter board, guys. So remember, you're braking at probably 30, 40 meters, if that,
Yeah.
if you're braking this late like he is. So remember, if you look to the right, let's see what would correlate to 100 meters here. The profile
that
clean
big,
sign, probably
that
four of these banners
second
ahead.
banner.
So a lot of people try to brake at the second Coke Zero on the right-hand wall, and that's fairly late. So be careful with it.
See, 100-meter is worth air, but it's much later than that. But Coke Zero, there are so many on the wall, though you don't want to count it while driving it. So I will use this banner, the state-of-the-art racing, if you don't want to brake underneath when you get as closer, when you still see it, you could try to brake there and you should be able to make the corner. It's a pretty fast corner. That's my preference, but if you have anything else that you like prefer, use what worked the best for you.
Yeah, it looks like you're braking at about 2 red flags on the left side.
Yeah.
1, 2, maybe 3. Well, it depends if you're in
No,
what car.
4.
4.
Yeah,
He's
it
on
depends
like the
on
last
car.
one.
It's
Yeah.
right when
Wow.
I'm
He's right under the pillar. Or
Yep.
the walk over the flag or whatever it is.
Pretty close, yeah.
Right where the
Kinda-
shadow is.
like right here. I still
Second
see
to
it.
last Coke Zero sign.
Man, if I brake there, I'd just go right in the center.
But
Oh, jeez.
the Porsche could brake pretty late too.
Yeah.
It's like car ends braking from all the other car. That's the car will brake the latest.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll be a
Wow.
little bit before that. Probably you still probably gonna see like not that far, but you still see a bit of more of the sign that cross the road.
Yeah, the big overhead banner is a good place for you guys to reference.
Yeah, I use the overhead banner and then the Coke Zero right there. That's about just as I'm just beside it. That's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I will do when I was racing in the McLaren. Was probably around here.
Yeah, I'm in the Honda, so yeah, all
Great.
depends,
Similar.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the board could just that's one of his strength that could lay and there's a lot of turn in the car, so you need to get used to it. It's way different than the mid-engine that I drive before. So let's continue on a brake as usual in straight line as much as possible, but you're still gonna turn a little bit while braking for turn 1. So you brake down the gear, and then I release the brake and coast a bit. And this part, you have the curb, and you have like the after curb. The middle of that will be like the other apex, and that's where you want to be back on throttle and use all the exit you could to have the best exit possible. So right here, I'm going to get back full throttle and just let the car go. Not trying to steer anymore, not like much. I want to use the green stuff. You could go right to the gravel here. If you touch a gravel here, you're probably gonna get you could have a warning here, but also gonna slow you down. Not sure if you get. I'm not sure if you could get the track limit here. It's still possible, but so use every inch of the track you could use. So this is fine. We're not touching the gravel. You're right close to it. You want to use it. If you are not hesitating here, like if you're still on the tarmac, that means you went on throttle too late. So try to be on throttle sooner, so at least you're on the curb, or your right tire will be on the start of the green. If you're not comfortable to go that far, just don't do it. I'm probably not gonna push that R on the race. I'm not gonna take chance to ruin my lap, so probably there's still a fair bit of green, so probably gonna touch the green but not going that close. So if we go back just a bit, we'll go back on the inside camera. So take a look at the steering. So when I'm going back on throttle, I'm just gonna keep the steering turn a bit, but like my corner is already decided. I'm gonna correct if I'm losing the rear or something, but I'm not gonna move the steering, try to make it turn more, because the car will not turn more if you're trying to. You're just gonna go slower. Just keeping it then on the other way. That will be turn 1. For turn 2, what I'm using is this little Marshall stand or Marshall cabin. That's when I'm seeing it on the left of my car. That's where I'm going to brake. So trying to put the car straight, and then just gonna really see. I only see it a little bit on my left windows. That's one of my. That's what I'm using it right now. But you could also use where the gravel start. Some people will use that braking just after it start, so the car is a little bit past, but when you're inside, you could use it just a little bit. It's one that it's hard to find a good reference point. It's not that defined, but you could definitely use a little house, or you could use a gravel that is there. Just braking as much as possible and straight line, turn. So go back just a little bit. You'll see I'm giving like a tiny bit of throttle here. That's just me in the Porsche. Your other car, you'll probably just be coasting. And when you get something as turn 1, this part on the curve that you see the green after the curve on the right could be a good reference point for your reacceleration. So at this point, you should be back on throttle and staying full throttle until the next corner. We'll see. We'll go back full throttle.
I noticed you didn't use the full left-hand side of the track for your corner entry for this one, Michelle. Is it because it's outside the race line, or?
You don't need to go that much because it's not far from exit of turn 1 and entry of turn 2 is not that far, so you don't need. And even if you go, you could go, there's nothing, but you're not gonna gain much from this corner. You don't need to use
The approach is already wide enough for the angle. If you went out too much further, you're just making the track longer than you have to.
Fair enough, yeah.
So back full throttle here, and you should stay full throttle from here to this corner is flat, like this arc. It's like, and I'm not using all of it here. I touch a little bit, but you don't want to use too much of on the exit because you have those serrated curve when you pass the first one. Those little rectangle, the white and red on the green stuff, they're pretty rough. If we go take a look closer.
Won't it activate the TC at times if it's too rough like that?
Yeah, it could. So they're pretty rough to touch it, and going that way, you're not gonna gain like a bunch of time. So you could just stay on the curve. You don't need to push that much here because it's a big arc. You still have plenty of road to do the corner properly without pushing that arc. So I'm still full throttle. I'm just touching it, and it'll be fine. This part you stay full. Just keep the racing line. You will go to the right. You don't need to go on the curve there for nothing. You just could unbalance a little bit the car. You don't need to touch it. Go close, but don't touch it. Same thing on the exit here. Don't want, it's so small. You have the grass right after that. It could be dangerous, and it's not needed to go that far and take a risk to touch the grass on the exit here. So I'm going close. Yeah, and just touch it like a tiny bit, but don't go more than that. So next corner, my braking point, you see we have two roads that are coming to the track. I think I'm using the first one. We'll go inside. I'm just used to do it. Sometimes when you get used, you don't think about it anymore. You just do it slow. Yeah, first one. So when I get up to the first one, that's where I'm starting to brake. And this corner is pretty fast. So right now I'm in 5, I will only downshift one gear, and I will coast a lot for this corner. And like all the other corner, like 1 and 2, we still have that green little curb after the curb. So that will be my reference point for getting back on throttle. At this point, when my car get here, I'll want to be back on throttle, full throttle, and I just want to be careful on the exit. It's just a small curb and then the gravel. And since this place is like the second longest straight on the circuit, if you touch the gravel here, you're gonna lose a bunch of time. Like just touch it like tiny bit here, I could lose like 1 or 2 10 easily. So just don't touch it. Try as much as possible not touch it. Again, braking, releasing, and then I'm coasting. I'm gonna coast until I get to this part here. So you could use the curb a bit, but don't go much more than that.
As far as the coasting part goes, too, a lot of you guys might want to try some of that going through some of these corners because they are somewhat longer arc corners. But also, I've seen a lot of you guys get back on the throttle way too soon and you're complaining about understeer. You're creating it yourself.
Yeah, all right. So try to get some reference for when to get back on throttle. That could help. Try to get always those in. Like I said, for turn one, if you're exiting a corner and you're not far enough, like on the exit, you're not using all the track, that means you get on throttle too late. But if you go outside the track, that's probably mean you went on throttle too soon. That could be a good indicator how to do it. So let's check this corner from the inside. So be patient and brake and coast a lot here, and then back on full throttle. Now, famous chicane that everybody loves to play roulette with. My reference point is between the 100-meter boards and the pose that we have right after. So it's like between this and this. There's also a darker patch. I think it will be this one. That from inside we see it pretty good, I think too. I don't know on the screen, it's probably not as clear, but when you're driving you might be able to see it. Let's go it slow from the inside just to find it. There. So right, yeah, I'm probably beside the pose, but yeah, it's between the 100-meter and the first light pole that we have here. So if you're braking right when you get to the 100-meter, you should be fine. And you want to be as the most right as possible. You want just to be on the white line. Don't want to touch the grass, because braking, if you touch the grass while braking, not gonna have a good time.
Can I also please ask you guys not to try to outbrake each other into the chicane, please?
Yeah, lap one, that's one play that is dangerous.
No, I mean any lap.
Yeah, also. So to make that chicane, there's a couple ways. I'm gonna show this way. This way is aggressive. That will be the fastest one. But I'll show you after. I did one after this lap just to show you another way that is a little bit safer, but a little bit slower too. There's like 3 ways to do it. The aggressive, not so aggressive, or you don't touch a curve at all, but that will be the slowest one. And compare if you not cut the chicane at all, and if you cut it, I think it's like half a second difference could be on the lap time. There's a lot of time to gain here, but not all car could do it like Bentley and all those.
But you also have to remember, too, guys, that there's a very big instability that might happen as you go over the chicane if you do it wrong.
Yes. So that's you that decide if you want to take the risk, if you're comfortable enough to do it. But we'll take a look at the first one. This will be the resist. So brake in straight line. Want to slow the car as much as possible. And then you're going to release the brake. Your turn. And while before touching here, see, I'm going this here going back on throttle a little bit. That's on purpose, and it's not because it's the Porsche on the corner. It's because I want to lift the front so it will be smoother when I get over the curb. So I just lift it, give a couple more millimeter, so less chance to the car to bottom up.
So you're kind of popping a wheelie before you get to the curb?
Yeah, every time I have to cut a curb like here, you could think of Nürburgring. When you exit the stadium part, you go over the curb, you want to give a little bit of throttle. When I did Imola, was the same thing on the chicane. I gave a little bit of throttle just to lift the front a bit, so it's just smoother. So pretty much every time there's a SS like that I don't want to cut, I'm gonna give a little bit of throttle.
Are there any setup changes to make this chicane safer?
Kind of car dependent, but I would say bump stops off of 0.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not the guy for a setup. I'm so bad
It-
at setup.
The setup, yeah, if you're down on the bump stops on the front, it will be very harsh because you generally don't have a lot of travel in the suspension, but we'd have to talk about that individually.
Yeah, it's car dependent a lot setup. So, if you take a look, you have those 3 sausage curve, the red like baguette sausage. So, don't want to cut the. I don't want to cut on this one. That will be way too much. I don't want to cut too much on the second. Maybe touch it, but just the outside. But I don't want to cut over the last one. So let's take a look. Where did I go? So see, my car is already like aligned straight, almost. So I'm gonna hit. I'm missing the middle one, but I'm like halfway on the last one. And it's almost straight for the last one. So the last one I could pretty much jump. Just nip a little bit of the middle one. So we'll go back just a bit. I'll show you this line, but then we'll go inside the car because there's a pretty important thing here when you want to cut to prepare for the second one. So you want, here we're gonna turn just a little bit of throttle, but when you're done here, jumping the first one, you see the steering? I'm putting steering straight, back straight, like really quick. See, I'm still turning, but right when after the wheel will touch back on the ground, I want to put my steering straight to prepare for the next one. I want to hit it straight. If I don't hit it straight, with the steering it's not straight, that's where you get lose control, get on the walls, and just lose the car completely. If you get your steering straight to it, you have a way less chance to lose the car, and keep it straight until your wheels go back on the track. So we'll go, see, I'm gonna straighten up. I want to keep it straight, land straight, and then I could finish the corner after that if I need it.
So you're basically aiming the middle of the car to for that second curve, right?
Yeah, the second I cut more of it. So first one on the last curve. The next one you could like cut a lot of it. That's it. The second one is the most important one to cut than the first one. Like the first one, if you hit the middle of the tree curve on the first one, you're probably gonna launch the car. But yeah, I'm gonna try to. Oh, just go from the outside. So I'm not even on the track anymore. I want to cut it so tire will still stay on the curb. The left tire will still stay on those curb. But yeah, you cut it a lot.
Now remember, guys, this cut is also very car dependent. A lot of the front engine cars can do very harsh hits on the curbs. The mid-engine cars are slightly disadvantaged here, but it's very possible depending on the angle at which you hit the sausage curbs. Remember that.
Yeah, it's all about your line here. But yeah, be careful. You just practice. And since we're here, I think yeah, we'll go show the second way. So the second way to do it, will be to not jump the first one at all. So you want just to go close, like here. You don't want to jump the last one. See, I'm just close to it, but not as aggressive as the first time. But then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna straight up the wheel, and I'm gonna jump the second one the same way. Still on the second. And if we look at the inside, should see pretty much the same thing. So breaking point is the same, it's just where I'm turning in. So I just want to miss all the curve here and then straight jump the last one.
So the car is airborne after the second chicane, right?
Yeah, a bit. That's
A bit.
normally we're gonna go at full speed back and you hear all the sound, the car is cracking and everything, but that's fine. There's no damage to the car, it's not gonna do anything to the car. I should take the other one. It sounds awful, but don't worry about the sound.
It's
I
all
don't
about
think
getting that first turn right and then committing to it once you've gone past that, because now you're straight right out. So it's, if you don't get that first one comfortable, you're kind of, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? If you don't get the angle right when you're going over the first curb, and then you straighten out, now you're committed.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why you're keeping it straight. Because if you try to do anything else, you just how the car's just going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Cool.
Yeah, just take it slow at the beginning, and the last way to do it will be to not hit any of the curb. So it's perfectly fine if you don't want to hit it, you're not comfortable during the race, you could just not hit any of those curb, and you'll be a little bit slower, but better be a little bit slower than ending in the car in the wall and still lose way much more time than just doing it safer.
So, what's the advantage of the second approach if you're still hitting that second curve like straight on?
You
About a half a second.
half a second will be like both. If you only cut the second one, I don't know. Not sure how much you will gain, but you will still gain compare if you're not cutting at all.
It's like on that second one, though, you obviously, to get to that point, you're braking just a little bit longer to get to that last sausage. So that's probably where you'd lose it. And it's like, what is that? 2/10 maybe, I guess. But still, yeah, you're braking later to get to that point, right? So I think that's where you would lose, 2 or 3/10.
Yeah, and then you're probably gonna the line will be not as straight either. Because right now we try to make it as straight as possible, but if you're not doing that, you're gonna have to turn left and then turn right a lot more, since on this lap it's after I'm done this turn it's pretty much only straight, right? Full throttle here on the second chicane.
Yeah.
So
In some of my practice laps, I've done it the opposite way, where I've jumped the first curb and not taken too much of the sausage on the second curb, and actually got an okay launch down the straightaway and made up some time by the time I get to the next corner.
Yeah, compared to your lap, but the important thing is after the first one you want to be back full throttle. If you don't need to cut as much that I cut. If you still full throttle, you should have a good exit here because it's pretty long. It's not a straight, but it's still a long play that you could gain time. So going to the next one, next chicane. So braking reference here, there's not really clear visual, but the best thing is when you start to brake when you finish the corner. So when you get your car straight here, that's where I'm going to start to get back. I'm gonna start my braking as soon as I finish the corner. So let's go slow. Still turning. Put the car straight and back on. I'm on the brake. So if you look at from the inside, you'll see it probably better. Turning, straight, then I'm on the brake.
Are you ever using that curb on the left?
No, not that much.
No, I think he means as a reference point, but no,
Oh,
it's too late.
Yeah,
If you're
that's
braking
like-
at the curb, you're in the sand in the distance.
Right, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
gonna go straight at that
One
point.
one thing that you might use is the red and white wall on the left here. If you can visualize it as you come around the corner, as it goes past the edge of the windshield, give yourself about a 1 or 2 count and then hit the brakes just before this dark spot. But remember, when there's somebody in front of you and you're on race day, you'll never see this in time. So using the edge of the screen, the red and white on the left, maybe there might be a difference in the patch of grass on the left-hand side here, but that's a maybe. There's not much here to mark off, but like he said, if you can come around the corner and stay close to the curbing or the white line, once you get the steering wheel straight, you damn well better start braking, because the longer, the straighter the braking zone, the better you're going to get the car to slow down in time.
Yeah, where it's darker, it's too late for braking. See, I'm already before that, and I'm in the Porsche. I'm still braking before the dark patch, but if you
Right.
brake there, you're gonna overshoot the corner for sure. Especially if you have fuel at the beginning of the race, and if the track is green or fast, this darker patch will not be as dark.
Exactly.
This is optimal track, so that's why we see that much rubber on the track. So next chicane is this one is dangerous for track cut for both. You could have on this section, the right, left, and right, you could have 2 track cut in those 3 corners easily. So you need to be careful, but to get a really fast time, you need to still cut it.
Yeah,
There's
those
a lot of
cones are going to be
camber in
gone. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, those cones are going to be gone by the end of lap 1. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be gone for maybe before the race, even on the formation lap. So don't count on the cone to help you to know where not to go, but you could use
Cones? What cones?
One of the other things too, guys, this is a very deep corner here, and you can actually bottom the car out quite hard. If you go over the sausage curbs too hard, you'll bottom out on this first section right here.
there's a big gap after the last one here, so you need to be careful. There's like a big dip.
Yeah, because you can see that there's actually a drain here, that they actually use this for water removal when it rains here. So this is a very deep spot here in the track. You can actually bounce quite hard through here. And then going over to the next one, if you looked at the next one, there's a big high spot in the track right there, and then it changes to sort of flat. If you back up just a little bit, the track has a slight rise in the road to the right. But anyway, there's a transition here, guys. So be very careful about how much you actually do try to cut. You can get up, probably 2 tires up on near the sausage curbs, and then the transition from right to left is pretty fast as far as steering.
Yeah.
So when you change direction here, that's a big thing. Because remember, when you're turning the wheels are going to be looking for a specific angle and certain amount of grip. And then when you flick the wheel back the other way, you're just basically telling the tires, don't go that way, let's go this way. And all of a sudden, there's like not much grip on the front end until they get a set. So you have to change the direction of your steering very quickly between these corners. It can't be lazy and get the car turned in.
Yeah. You could cut on those curves if you go like the first one when you enter here. If your right tire is over those 3 sausage curve, I think that's a track cut. I think that's where the limit is. let's see, I'm gonna cut on it. Then I'm gonna do the same thing here. You don't want, like if you hit that orange cone, I think that will be a track cut. So left tire, if there's over the 3 sausage, that will be a track cut.
Oh, that was close.
That's what you need to do.
Oh, I know. Believe me, but you
27
just,
too.
yeah, you just missed it at that point.
One
I
pixel.
I don't know for the last one if you need to be check.
I usually never go past that drain.
See, the tire is still touching it, so if you touch it, it's fine, I think, for a track cut. Don't know if I'll check that. But yeah, this is still a valid lap. But yeah, that's a lot of cut. So when you're coming off this one, a lot of the car I think will be in the first gear here, except probably the Bentley and AMG. But while I was driving in the Ferrari or McLaren, I think was in the first one. And for the next corner, I will do a short shift for the second gear when I get to the next one. Here I'm already on the second gear to take the chicane, so I will just stay in the second gear. So for the next one, you don't brake, you just do a lift. So let's go slowly. So I'm gonna exit. You don't want to exit too wide on the right because the next corner is coming so fast. So you want to stay middle, a little bit of on the right, but not too much. So you'll come and you'll just do a lift. You'll see the lift here. It's not a full lift. I keep a little bit on the car and then back full throttle for the exit. And here you could use the curb. This one is fine to use. It's not that aggressive. But you don't want to touch the grass, of course. And then you should, if you do the line right here, you're gonna be full throttle until the hairpin. But you need to do the line right. While you get to this corner, stay right. There's a camber in the track, and you want to put your you see that the first part of the curve, and then there's the second part of it that is a little bit up. So you want to put your tire between like the white line and the first part of the curve, so it will grip the front and you'll be able to do this corner flat until the hairpin. Let's go slowly and see. I'm gonna go close. I don't want to go too much on it. I go a little bit, but if you're doing right here, there's no problem to stay in full throttle until the hairpin.
One thing to note, guys, if you're coming through that corner and you feel as though you're going to get too much understeer going through there, lift slowly and it will allow the front end to grab a little better, and then you can add the throttle back.
For the hairpin, I'm going to use the 100-meter board for my braking reference. So when I just pass it, I'll be on the brake. Let's go slowly, getting to the 100-meter board, full brake, brake hard for the hairpin, all the way down to the first gear. Then I'm gonna release, trail brake, and back full throttle to finish the corner. And for the small SS, you want to keep trying to get it as straight as possible. Like you don't want to go on the right. You don't need it. You're just gonna cut a little bit on the curb, cut back on the next curb on the right, and you'll be fine. down to the last two corner. My braking reference is a little bit after the 100-meter board, so you have as the first chicane, 100-meter board, you have a light pole. So, and there's a just beside the light pole, there's a patch of grass ice slider. You could use that too. That's what I'm using with the Porsche. So that will probably be late for a lot of the cars. So 100-meter board is pretty safe to start. So you want to start usual straight, and those small sausages you could use it. They're not too high, not too aggressive, so you could cut it. And since it's SS, you want to stay probably in the middle of the track to do the last corner on the right. You don't want to exit too wide on the right because you're going to compromise your exit for the straight. So you want to, on your first corner area, when you have an SS, you want to compromise the first one so you could get a better exit on the next one on the straight. So that's where you're going to gain time. Let's watch it a little bit slow. See the line go. Want to cut it a little bit. It's at the middle. Then you're just going to do a lift and back on throttle. There's no brake for the last one. It's just the lift. And use the exit. This one you could go a little bit wider than the curve because we have the extra concrete after the curve, and it's fine to use. But as you could see, it ended up pretty quickly, so you need to get back on the track pretty quick. This was just for the hot lap, so you usually going to go slowly back to the right to prepare for corner number 1 again. And before we exit, one more thing I want to show you. I want to talk about the pit entry here. This pit entry could be really dangerous if you're following a car. So if I'm in front of you, you're behind me, I'm gonna brake at the 100-meter board to prepare for my corner. But if you want to go to the pit entry, you only have to brake almost at the apex of the first chicane. You have those here. That's like you could brake like up until here before going to the pit entry. So if someone is in front of you, you will still need to brake at the 100-meter board and then go to the pit. You don't want to go try to zigzag, go on the left, go in front of him and then brake. It's just too dangerous. So you just need to be careful when you are gonna enter this pit because it could cause a lot of problem. So you need to brake, then you turn, you have a small brake here, then you're back on brake before this pit lane starting here.
I will seriously emphasize that you guys need to practice your pit entries here.
Yeah.
Believe me, I understand how difficult this is.
Yeah, this one is really hard because I saw a lot of people like destroying their car like in those wall here. Easily. They're gonna overshoot or this
And
is
the wonky part about this pit entry too is there's an opportunity after the second corner to put a little bit of gas into it before you have to hit the 50 zone, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can get back up to some speed, but it will kill you if you don't get it right.
Yeah. So this one is important to practice. And for the exit, as you can see here, you don't need to brake to do this corner on the pit entry exit. Just a lift and you should be good to do the corner without being on the brake. So just a small lift and then you'll be back on the track.
For those of you on a hot lap, if there is anyone in here in the pit lane that is moving, you need to stay away from pit exit line because it is their safe zone. We preach this all the time in the pre-race briefings. That line right there that you see is not to be crossed if there's anybody in the pit lane. That does not mean they have to be there. that means that you can't cross it while someone's moving in the pits. Plus, it's not faster to be inside for turn 2. It's actually faster to be slightly outside that line.
Yeah, it's not the racing line, anyways. More or less.
But also the people that are exiting the pit, like you don't want to cross the white line because you might want to be there, but you should not. You should. The game will not penalize you. Yeah, sometimes they said they will penalize it, so just stay inside the line, your line, until you get to the finish line here.
Mhm.
Any question on any turn? Anything you want to see it back or?
Coming into the hairpin in your hot lap, you just took a standard U pattern around the hairpin. J or V turns for other cars?
Can we see it from above after you get through here?
Yeah, enters it a little later than you think you would.
The reason I'm asking is because if you get above it, you can take a look and see actually how, quote, tight or how loose it actually is. This is not really a true hairpin. It's more of a very, very tight corner. So there's only so much you can do with changing the angle. It's really about how well you approach the corner on speed and turn in. And then your exit just kind of follows through.
Like the apex is just a little past the at the end of the sausage or that green spot there. That's kind of what I use the end of that green space where the 2 dots are,
Yeah,
as an apex point. Because if you apex early, you're missed your corner. It's going to take you a long time to finish the corner and throttle back up.
yeah, I think that's where I'm usually back on throttle too.
Yeah, because you're pretty much almost straight there. Now you're straight, and the car will dig in.
Mm-hmm.
No real advantage for taking, say, late entry and early on the throttle.
Exactly. Yeah. I learned that this corner. Oh man, I picked up so much speed or so much time because, I wasn't trying to take it really tight all the way around it because it's not going to work. Yeah. I also wanted to say too is that I learned listening to guys like Michael here is that when he says he's coasting, I mean, I'm sure you guys all understand it, but when he says he's coasting, like let off the throttle, I'm coming to this corner, and then for me, it was always wanting to get back on the gas as fast as I could, to try to keep up with everyone. But you got to realize that it took me a while to realize that the car has enough speed in it if you come in the corner right that it'll just glide in, and then the car settles down and isn't off balance or anything as he comes into the corner at that balancing point or that let the gas off the throttle. Even at the last chicane there, you can see how he takes the corner. There's no gas because he's got enough momentum to do it. If you hit the gas early, your back end's going to kick out because your car's not settled down and it's not kind of like straightened out in a sense. And I had a lot of problems with that second chicane doing that, trying to get back on the gas faster, thinking that would help me. But all it does is end up kicking the back end out. That's on the second part of that chicane, like you said, compromise the first part a little. And then the second one, you just coast. So he's throttling back up here because he's straight. Then he's got enough speed. He's, that little bit of a coast just before that is just let the car do its thing, settle down, and then he can throttle back up. Because if he's comes in that corner, it's tipping to the right, and if you're tipping to the right and you start throttling, you need the car to settle down again. And that took me a while to learn that. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, the coasting is really important in this game. In the GT3, the GT3 have a good aero, but it's not a Formula One. So you need where the GT3 will gain its time is on the straight, on corner exit. So if you focus on your corner exit to have a good exit, you'll have a good top speed. You get to your top speed faster. So yeah, coasting is really important. And you're probably not gonna realize it if you do it or not. So go take a look at your replay to see your behavior. Are you, like you see on my replay, I touch the throttle when I'm in the corner, in some corner, in the fast corner. That's because in the Porsche. But let's say Brenach, when you get to the fast right ender after the longest straight, so
Turn 5.
yeah, turn 5, I'm still on the throttle, but you should, if I when I was in McLaren, I might be a little bit on throttle, but most of it was coasting, and then you get bad on the throttle. But yeah, coasting is really important. But take a look at your replay to see if you're touching the throttle during corner or not, so that it goes properly.
That goes back to car balance as far as weight shift too, because if you guys are getting the car slowed down, we always talk about having the car on the nose, up on the front wheels, and weight transfer towards the front for the extra grip. If you're starting to add throttle, basically you're pushing the car forward, and it's just as though you're in your own personal car, or if somebody's driving and you're sitting in the passenger seat and somebody hammers the throttle pretty hard, it throws you back in the seat. That's the same exact thing that's happening in the game. You're getting weight transfer. You're leaning the car back off the front wheels. You're lessening the amount of weight on the front end. You're also losing the grip. It's all the same thing. There's certain terms that are very interchangeable with the same kind of thing. But when you throttle up too early, you're basically leaning the car back on the rear wheels, and the front tires just kind of go, oh, never mind, not going to try.
Yeah, and I find in this track, the what is that one? The third corner just before the gravel. If you where Michael's coasting there, that one it's patience. Yeah, before that.
Yeah, that's turn 3. Go ahead and roll up a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, turn 3 on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that one.
That's turn 2. This is turn 1 coming out.
Okay. Yeah. There's turn 2. And then
Here,
turn 3.
there's a lot of coasting here.
Here 1 too. Yeah, it's like you need to have patience. And that was my hardest thing to do is get
Trust the car.
patience. Yeah, because you're going fast and everyone's pretty much doing the same thing. Nobody's throttling up earlier than Michael for sure. So if you're racing or if you're driving and there's a guy in front of you and he's starting to leave you, don't start throttling until you're comfortable with that car the way it's settled. And it takes a while, a little bit of patience for sure.
Yeah, next one, like I did a coasting here, but next one is a lot of coasting. We could look at
Yeah.
that full throttle, and you will see it's still a fair bit of coasting here. If you see like 10% of throttle, that should be coasting in another car.
Sometimes you give it a little touch just to. Yeah, that coast before you hit that apex, you're pretty much almost letting the car point. It's kind of like, I mean, I do the same. I mean, not as good as you, Michael, but when you're coming around the corner, it's kind of wait for it, and then I can see if I throttle where my car will go.
Yeah.
Like, if I throttle a little too early, you can see it's just going to go in the sand or gravel.
Yeah.
If I throttle a little late, then I'm losing speed on that long straightaway. Because if you get that one right, wow, it's just like the first straightaway. It's beautiful to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of time in this corner. If you do this one right, you'll gain a lot of time in the straight. It's not long, but you're still gonna gain a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
Any more question? All right then. Say thank you to watch the walkthrough. Hope it helps. If you have any question, you could always ask me. I'm not always on the house of practice, but you could shoot me a message. I will answer it. If you have any question, don't hesitate. Just ask.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. Do appreciate the help, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks
Michael.
so
That's
much.
fantastic.
Excellent lap time, sir. You drive that car like it was on rails.
It's trying to get used to it. Now I just need to put everything together in the race.
Yes.
Well, good luck in your split, man. I really appreciate you helping out. It makes a big difference for showing the exact way to do this correctly.
All right, no problem, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
C'est bien,
Thank you
Michel.
so much.